This week in post, knowing the right tool for the right job. Hey everybody, I'm Scott Davenport. Welcome to In Post. Thanks very much for joining me, and we're going to process one of the photos that I showed you the behind the scenes look in the field earlier this week. I'd like you to go check that out if you haven't seen it already. That way you get both sides of the equation, the camera in field work that we do and then the post-processing work that we do to come away with a full image. So today's photo and the theme here is knowing the limitations of your tools, knowing your tools well enough to say, all right, I need to choose a different tool to get the job done that I want. And so I want to show you this photo here that I have in Lightroom, and it's pretty good. It's come a long way. Let me hit the backslash key, and you can see this is where I began. This is what came straight out of camera. So, really dark in the foreground, really bright in the background. We expect that when we're shooting into the sun. But was able to do a whole lot within Lightroom itself. And I got to this stage of the photo, and there were just a few other things that I wanted to fix up. And namely, it had to come around to color. I wanted to do some targeted color work, increase greens on that moss in the foreground and the yellows in the clouds. And the problem about doing that selectively in Lightroom is we just don't have the tools to do that. We've got the HSL panel, and I could do certain things here. And you can see I actually did, bring the blue saturation up a little bit and darkened it a little for the sky. But if I start to play with, let's say I want to get these greens going more, and I say, all right, let me take, usually if we take yellow and shift it toward green, and then I can increase the greens. But look what's happening to the clouds. The clouds are starting to get a greenish cast, because I'm affecting the photo globally. So I can't do that in the HSL panel. Let me switch that back to where it was. And so the first thought is, let me go use a brush. Well, the problem with the brush is Lightroom does not give us individual control over the colors, right? We get temperature, we get saturation, and that's basically it. So you want to start to get into this type of color control, it's time to turn to a different tool. I need to use a tool that's right for the job. And so the tool I want to use is On1 Effects 2017, part of Photo Raw, because that's also got some of my other favorite things, contrast, and dynamic contrast and so forth. And I know I can do my color work there. So let me bring this photo into Photo Raw, into the effects module, and we'll finish it up. So here's the finished photo in Photo Raw in the effects module. And let me kind of walk from the bottom to the top, because there's a couple of things here that I think highlight some interesting features we got in effects that just made processing this photo that much easier. So let me turn off all of these filters here, and I want to focus on a couple of them. First, dynamic contrast. Now, take a look at what happens here. No dynamic contrast. Keep your eyes on the clouds, ladies and gentlemen. And we get a boost in the clouds. And that's it. And how did I do this? Let me press the O key. This is a very interesting mask, right? And the way that I achieved this was started by applying a luminosity mask. Luminosity masks, easy enough to add, mask, create one. And what it does is we'll create this black and white type mask, but the very warm or bright parts of your photo get masked white, and the darker parts get masked black, and you get a nice gradation anywhere in between. But I only wanted it for the clouds, so the next thing I did is grab bug. You can see it's right here. That's where this gigantic amount of black is coming in from, just covering up all the foreground. And then the very last thing that I did was use a masking brush with a light opacity and kind of just sweep through the sky a little bit so I could keep that nice smooth blue. I don't want any contrast added to the sky because there's really nothing to contrast there. So with a couple of pretty quick and simple masking tools, I was able to isolate the clouds and make them look a little punchier, but in a natural way, and not affect the rest of my scene. Working my way up, I did something similar for the foreground. I wanted contrast in the foreground. So here's the mask, O key. Now this one, I just started by saying no contrast anywhere. Use the masking brush, which I didn't have selected now. Okay, use masking brush and turned on the perfect brush, so I have edge detection. That's where these interesting little dots and patterns and so forth. I don't mind that there's patches where contrast, like at the edge of this rock, put the mask back on with, oh, you see all that black area there? That doesn't bother me as much because that's not necessarily the most important part of my photo to add contrast to. I want it on this mossy rock. I want it here. I wanted it on the edge of this wave where the wave's just flattening out and starting to rush in to shore. So you can see I spent some time just brushing through there. But it was a simple brushing job. I wasn't really doing a painstaking work. I was letting the perfect brush kind of just select the highlight areas for me as it turned out. And that worked great. From there, it was my normal stuff. Originally, I said I wanted to get color done. So here's where you'll see the greens boost up. And I can target just the greens, right? And I could also, I had to rein things in. On1 did a better job at separating greens and yellows. So originally, I thought I would need to mask. Turns out I didn't have to. The clouds just didn't get affected. The green-yellow separation was just good. The second one, I did do some masking. This was for the sky. So you can see the sky gets darker before and after. And here's my mask, O key for that. Straight masking bug, just keeping it up to the top. I didn't want to darken and make this ocean blue. In fact, I wanted to make that a little brighter. I had a third color enhancer. This one here. This was another touch to the clouds. You can see those yellows getting brighter before, after. So I used the fall preset, backed off the opacity, and O key again. It's even backed off the strength of that scene overall. What that really did before and after. So the clouds got a nice pop, but look right down the center of the photo. Those little reflections off the sand and off the water before and after. Those were getting accentuated. So again, multiple passes at color, focusing on different tones throughout the image. For the center of the frame, so this ocean area, I wanted that to be a little softer. So I added a glow. You'll notice after. There's before and after. So glow across the ocean and also at that low edge of the clouds off at the horizon. Those can be soft. Those are farther out there, give a little bit of a dreaminess to it. How that was accomplished, masking bug with what is often overlooked, the reflected gradient. And the way that works is I'm affecting what's in between the solid lines, and then I can feather each side out individually from each other to get a nice, good, smooth fade. And I think by default, we'll mask away from what's inside the two solid bars, invert the mask, and now you're masking what's inside. It's a really great shape of the masking bug. And of course, finishing off with a vignette, right? So summed all up, this is what came in from Lightroom. Good, way better than that really dark, shadowy foreground that I started with. But this is what I finished with in On1 Effects. And what prompted me to move over there is I knew I couldn't do certain things in the tool I started in. So I needed to shift tools. So the tip of the week is to know the right tool for the right job. Sometimes you're working in one tool and you reach a point in the post-processing where you want to do something else, and the tool that you're working in either flat out won't let you do it, like what happened to me with Lightroom, or maybe it doesn't have the exact type of look that you're wanting, and you have another tool that you can do that with. And that'll do it for this week in post. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know somehow. Comments below the video, whether you're watching this on my blog, on YouTube, on some other streaming device, whatever it may be, there should be a comment box somewhere. Let me know if you enjoyed this. Give me your thoughts about using a variety of tools for your post-processing. Tell a friend too. That'd be great if you could let someone else know about this show. I'd love to see the audience grow and for it to continue to be a two-way conversation. Well, until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Happy shooting. I think I just said the same thing twice. Let's try that one more time. Today, I'm getting distracted by imaginary things, apparently. There's nothing here.